Okay, we're live. Welcome to another Nerd Stalker interview. This is Greg Gloria, aka Social Greg on Twitter for the Nerd Stalker Media Network. Thanks to Finn Partners in New York for arranging this. Today we speak with Jeffrey Miller, the IEEE Senior member and Associate Professor of Engineering at USC, who will help us discuss a recent IEEE survey on autonomous vehicles. And as well as, just a discussion he participated on in a panel on autonomous vehicles. So IEEE recently released a global survey results that indicate, numerous challenges in regards to the future of driverless vehicles. And, even Google says that it's about 5 years out, but, we'll talk about how, he sees that whole thing and some roadblocks or hurdles to jump over to get even to the 5-year mark. So respondents indicated that they feel comfortable with wouldn't feel comfortable with driverless vehicles transporting their children, which, doesn't make me surprised. And as well as safety and trust in technology, and, being some of the main barriers. But, as Jeffrey and I will talk about, there'll be more things to talk about because there's also regulatory issues that he's also aware of. So anyway, good morning, Jeffrey, and welcome to Nerd Stalker Live from Southern California, right?
That's right. Thank you.
Well, let's just get into this, and we'll talk about this to the Nerd Stalker audience. So the IEEE, the International Society of Electrical Electronic Engineers, created a global survey on autonomous vehicles, and got a pulse on the current reaction of the public to it. So not surprising. Again, parents don't feel comfortable with their kids in one. So can you discuss just maybe, I think that's more of a safety aspect of feeling comfortable about this new technology, right?
Yeah, I think it has a little bit to do with safety and just not being familiar with the technology. I think user acceptance is really going to drive this technology. That even though we have the ability to have driverless vehicles right now, it's still a big step from where we are when you've got adaptive cruise control or the assisted parallel parking to all of a sudden saying, hands off the wheel, I'm going to let the car just completely take over. In addition, I think that adults are a little bit more accepting of it because they have the ability to take over control of the vehicle if something goes wrong, as opposed to if I just put my kids in the back seat of a car that doesn't have a driver and something goes wrong, they're at the mercy of that vehicle.
We were talking offline earlier, and if you guys get a chance, look at the Google self-driver, or driverless vehicle project videos on YouTube, and they're really informative. But I remember years ago, we were talking offline that they were almost touting this utopia of you in the back seat or you in a seat, reading a book or reading a newspaper, and this vehicle just taking you to work or something like that. And now it's kind of changed. They've kind of gone to this, you still have to be in the driver's seat, you still have the ability to react. And is this come from really because there's really going to be, for the foreseeable future, a mixed mode of driver cars and driverless cars?
I definitely think that that's part of it. And I think another part of it is just the amount of testing that has gone on. I think the ultimate vision is, as you explained, that we want to be able to just sit back and not have traveling or transportation be something that we have to do, but it's something that is just getting us from one place to another while we're able to engage in other activities. However, even the Google vehicles right now that they're advertising a few million miles that they've driven, and the collisions that they've been in, they've claimed have all been because of human-driven vehicles that have collided with them. But in any case, in the LA freeway system during rush hour, we have over 1 million vehicles that are within that freeway system. That means that every minute we're having 1 million miles driven. So when Google advertised, we've only had 10 accidents and 10 million miles driven, that's only 10 minutes of the LA freeway system. And so I think that we just really need a lot more testing before you're completely taking control away from the driver and putting it in the hands of software.
Well, what do you feel in general, besides just adding time, when we develop, other products, right, especially products that need to go a certain, let's say, in my world, I used to work on semiconductor equipment, and we touted a reliability number, right? And, it'll last so many hours, right, before your next, maintenance or your next repair, mean time to repair, we used to call it. It's a little bit more complicated with vehicles than just that, especially self-driving vehicles, right?
Oh, of course. Maintenance is going to be a big issue also, because the software is going to constantly be improved. And so you want the version 1.0 software that's released today, and then 10 years from now, you have much more sophisticated software that maybe corrected a lot of the bugs. It's going to be just like programs you have on your computer, where you've got your operating systems that give you updates periodically, and it's going to be up to the driver, or as Tesla's doing it, as long as you're within wireless or cellular range, they're just going to update it over the air, which I think is a great way of taking care of maintenance issues. So the driver doesn't have the responsibility of taking the vehicle into the manufacturer to get the updates done.
I have always wondered about that, especially with the technology these days, why driving an Audi or some of these cars, they just can't do the firmware update almost automatically, right? But it just doesn't work that way. I do have to bring it to the dealer. The dealer has to make their money, and that's just the way the ecosystem works, right? And when you look at Apple and Google, they're so well, in their own way, anti-ecosystem, right? Or at least the current ecosystem, right? They want to create their own ecosystem and do things a different way, as you point out. But I viewed your panel discussion video, and you guys got a chance. I'll put the link on. Jeffrey participated in a panel discussion, during the summer, and there was an interesting discussion of what is the definition of autonomous vehicle. Is it really a single person vehicle, or is it a bus of, like, I think I just read a few weeks ago that they're testing this bus in a localized area out in San Ramon now, the driverless bus. You just get on and you just get to your next destination. What's your view of this?
So I think that the distinction needs to be made, and these terms are often used interchangeably between automated vehicles and autonomous vehicles. So an automated vehicle is more of what we're seeing right now, where it's not having communication from the outside. The only communication it's getting there is from, like, GPS systems, so that it knows its location. But all of the decisions that are being made are local, based on radar and video cameras and LiDAR and sensors that they have on the vehicle. Now, when we take it to the next step, which is not going to be within the next couple years here, but the second wave of vehicles are going to be autonomous vehicles, and this is where we're adding the communication factor in. So the vehicles are going to be communicating with the roadway and also communicating with other vehicles to improve safety, as well as providing other benefits like localized marketing and infotainment systems.
Wow. Okay. That makes a lot of sense, because you're right. That's like autonomous 2.0 or whatever, automated 2.0, however you want to describe it, like you were saying. Now, let's go back to safety, which we were discussing earlier. Is the preferred way now to really have a driver take control when he needs to, and that's another human reaction as well, right? So what is it in these new in the autonomous vehicles, or at least the next level, that you feel needs to alert the driver in plenty of time? Because I think once I get in an autonomous vehicle and I get comfortable and I'm going to be trusting it more, as we were saying earlier, I'm going to be less attentive to the things around me. I mean, I think it's just the way it is. I'll be looking at my mobile phone. I'll be looking at other things. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's absolutely going to be an issue. We have a re-immersion period that is going to take place if the vehicle is going to force the driver to take over control. That with your eyes just not on the road and you're distracted by some other means, it's going to take, as of current studies have shown, somewhere around 7 to 8 seconds just for the driver to look around and see, identify everything that's going on around them, and then be able to make a conscious decision. And that's also for an alert driver, because there have also been some people who have stated, well, maybe we don't need driver's licenses anymore. Maybe this is going to completely get rid of DUIs. Maybe we're going to be able to sleep while we're being transported from one place to another. These are not things that are going to be out at the very beginning of this technology. This is not what the intent is. Now, hopefully, long term, we will get there. But by no means are we going to get rid of licensing regulations within the next 5 years.
Well, that's a good segue into this next segment I wanted to talk about. California seems to be a leader because Google and Apple and everyone are really driving driving forward with like this autonomous vehicle technology. What are some of the regulatory issues currently that you see that California and other states have to kind of get through to let this technology really exist?
Well, so the most important factor is going to be the safety of the public. And when you have these vehicles on shared roads, you have to ensure that these vehicles are going to be at least as safe as a human-driven vehicle. And we can all hypothesize that technology is going to be safer than humans, that we take emotion out of the picture, you take distraction out of the picture. And so just with those two pieces removed, it is going to be safer, but we don't have statistics on this yet. And so the government needs to be cautious to make sure that we don't have malicious software, that we don't have software that hasn't gone through sufficient testing to ensure that it is going to be safer than the human-driven vehicles.
Yeah, I totally agree. All these videos are out there on, and we're using Bluetooth technology, so this is totally different than autonomous. But there's people hacking into the Bluetooth, enable like skateboards and stuff like that, stopping certain moving objects like that are controlled that way. And I guess what you're saying is that not only the communication protocols that have to be tested out, but as well as the actual vehicle itself, right?
Oh, absolutely. And you just brought up a big issue with safety as well. If we are receiving communication from outside of the vehicle, we need to make sure that it's not going to be able to take over control of the vehicle in a malicious manner.
Yeah.
And if there's anything that is able to control the vehicle from the outside, how are we going to ensure that there is sufficient security to make sure that somebody's not going to be able to hack into that? What you've done is you've just changed murder from being like a low-level criminal to actually being a white-collar crime, of someone actually being able to hack in and have detrimental acts.
Now, let's go. We've been talking a lot about safety and regulatory stuff, but there are some benefits to all this, right? I mean, the IoT, if you go into even a global aspect of all this, the IoT with as cities have been kind of looking at, like, the first implementation of IT in their mind is actually traffic control. And with autonomous vehicles, that could really kind of help some of the flow in some of these cities like San Francisco, which is, increasingly getting crowded and tough to navigate. I mean, those are some of the benefits of these vehicles, right?
Yeah, so I think that safety is, of course, the number one benefit that we're looking at here. That currently over 90% of the collisions that occur on the road are due, at least in part, to some kind of human error, something that the driver has done. So we're looking at being able to drastically reduce the number of collisions on the road. But second of all, just improving transportation and other means. When we have vehicle-to-vehicle communication, one of the applications is going to be in platooning of the vehicles, where the vehicles are going to be able to drive within about 5 or 10 feet of each other at 65 miles an hour, because they're constantly communicating. And so as long as you know that the vehicle in front of you is going to start slowing down, you can proactively slow down as well. This is, I think, is going to be one of the biggest benefits that we have to improving traffic issues, because you're not going to have the spacing between vehicles that we do as human drivers. You don't have that reaction time of 0.7 seconds before you even identify what's going on and then move your foot from the accelerator to the brake or vice versa. That this is going to be nearly instantaneously. It's going to be in the millisecond range that it's going to be able to identify something like that.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking every time I'm on the freeway, and you travel the LA freeways every day, right?
Right.
So it's that accordion effect that we always see, right? Where we'll start to see the line go and then stop again and go, and then we see way ahead that it's doing the same thing. So it's just this constant accordioning of things, and if you could just figure out how to just control the flow, initially you could go miles down the road and just go at a constant speed to make sure that the flow is just going right. So
that's right, exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Well, I'm gonna let you get off to class. It's Monday morning after Halloween. Hopefully your students will be in good shape there. But anyway, how can listeners get a hold of you and ask you more questions about autonomous vehicles? Because I think this is a really interesting subject.
Sure. If they want to get in touch with me, they can. Email's probably the best way. My email address, jeffrey.miller@usc.edu.
There you go. Well, I thank you. And, check out the survey from IEEE, because I think there's a lot of interesting things that really thought provoking, actually. And a lot of the questions that I raised today with Jeffrey was part of that. So anyway, we'll close off the interview. That was Jeffrey Miller, IEEE Senior and senior member and spokesperson for the Autonomous Vehicle Survey for IEEE. Thanks for joining us, everyone. This is Greg Gloria, aka Social Greg, on Twitter for the Nerd Soccer Media Network, where we believe in tech, startups, design, and you. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and be careful out there. Thanks again, Jeffrey. Appreciate it.